Part 2, A View from the Profession. Chapter 6, Learning from Experience, or Not. Seeing Horses. Security professionals and bureaucratic administrators generally are often criticized for acting after the fact, shutting the barn door after the horse has escaped. The counterargument to this nostrum is that bureaucracies, like people, learn from experience. The archetypal bureaucrat might admit in a candid moment that, yes, that horse has left the barn, but now we have seen a horse, and we know what to do about horses, or something to that effect. The secret college learns on good days. Sometimes the traces of attacks can be seen while getting through security in an airport. For example, when taking off shoes that, Richard Reed taught, could contain a bomb. While horrors no doubt await, who believes that an attack operationally like that of September 11th will happen again? That door has been closed, or so one must hope. The past is contested. If experience is key to learning, and thus the evolution of security practice, then it matters that the past is so often contested. What happened often turns out to be a surprisingly difficult question. What does it mean, and what, therefore, should we do, or worse? The fog of war, to echo Clausewitz, was rarely, if ever, thicker than during and after the 2013 Westgate Mall terrorist attack in Nairobi. Westgate Mall is an upmarket shopping mall with associated offices in the Westlands neighborhood of Nairobi. Shortly after noon on September 21st, some number of terrorists entered the mall by at least 3 entrances and began attacking mall-goers with automatic weapons and hand grenades. Subsequent CCTV footage showed 4 terrorists talking together. 4 is the official number of terrorists. 2 terrorists crossed over onto the rooftop level of an adjacent parking deck and began executing people into the sky, while press helicopters circled overhead. The terrorists on the roof of the parking deck announced that they were Al-Shabaab, the Somali group linked to Al-Qaeda, and was to kill Kenyans in retaliation for Kenya's armed presence in Somalia. As noted in Chapter 3, former Special Forces soldiers and security operatives, white Europeans, helped shepherd hundreds of people to safety, with some help from a few individuals employed by mall security. The parking deck was evacuated, eventually, with the aid of emergency medical services. For most of the first day, Kenyan security services established no cordon and had no effective command and control. Progress against the terrorists was very slow. Admittedly under-equipped, the Kenyan Special Forces did little to engage and fell back under fire. CCTV showed some looting by soldiers. Strikingly, the parking deck was not taken, despite multiple entrances and the possibility of landing helicopters on the roof. The Kenyan government repeatedly announced that the incident was over and the building cleared, only to be contradicted by the escape of more civilians, renewed gunfire, or explosions. Days into the incident, the entire concrete parking deck and some of the mall was destroyed by what was officially described as a fire, but is widely believed to have been a car bomb. The death toll has been listed as 71, although there is evidence that this is low. The names and nationalities of the terrorists were never confirmed, nor were the bodies ever identified. Nonetheless, it has been asserted that there were 4 terrorists and they were killed. There is an eyewitness account that one was shot and believed killed. Due to the lack of bodies in the security cordon, however, there is widespread speculation that some or all of the terrorists at some point put down their weapons, exited the building, and disappeared into the Nairobi street. In subsequent media coverage, the valor of Kenyan security services was extolled, the contribution of white expatriates ignored. Soon afterward, however, the Kenyan government was immediately pilloried in the national press for their handling of the situation. A number of reports were done by institutions inside and outside of Kenya, which unsurprisingly produced different accounts. Interviews with witnesses produced still more differences, again unsurprisingly. This is not the place to detail operational failings, point out tactical opportunities not taken, or to cast aspersions beyond this. On the rooftop of the parking deck that day, a cooking event for children was held. Many of the children were killed or wounded, while Kenyan security services failed to engage. Those children that were saved were rescued by volunteers. Today, Westgate is thriving again. The Israeli owners have rebuilt the mall and have made some improvements to its security architecture, judged fairly superficial by the professionals. There is no memorial. The past is suppressed, contested, unclear. Probably not much, but maybe some things have been learned. 6 years later, Al-Shabaab terrorists attacked the Dusit D2 complex, also in the Westlands, not far from Westgate Mall. Again, a European Special Forces soldier responded and was given de facto operational discretion within a cordon. The terrorists were neutralized and deaths mostly confirmed. The death toll was lower, too, with 21 civilians and 5 attackers killed. It is tempting and not wrong to say that Kenya is a developing country with limited resources. Besides, this event was embarrassing and, frankly, repugnant. Children died because nobody was willing to engage. Detailing what actually happened can only cause controversy. And the site was destroyed, somehow, but in fact. Underneath such facts lurk questions concerning the structure of Kenyan society. Perhaps the state is mostly about a paycheck, and if opportunity arises, other benefits. In this view, the state is not something worth dying for, and certainly not some entity with a monopoly on the use of force, not even the legitimate use of force. Sometimes circumstances simply are difficult. To be fair, the terrorists at Westgate were well organized, well armed, and by all accounts, fairly methodical. As the event ended, much of the site was destroyed. In the wake of the 9/11 attacks, the U.S. government, with its immense resources and in this instance concentrated political will, went to great lengths to determine what happened and to establish an authoritative narrative. But there were no survivors of the 4 planes involved. Some of the evidence was obtained by torture. Authoritative narratives are hard to come by, even when the facts are agreed and resources vast. And even agreed facts may suggest many different things about the world. Paranoia within reason. At 08:49 on July 7, 2005, Islamic terrorists detonated improvised explosive devices, IEDs, on 3 London Underground trains. There was supposed to be a 4th train bombing. 18-year-old Hasib Hassan arrived at the Northern Line at the appointed time, only to find that the service had been canceled. Hassan left the train station and attempted to phone his friends for guidance. They were probably already dead. CCTV picked Hassan up wandering about, but he did not attract police attention. He was a clean skin. He had no police record beyond youthful shoplifting, and he was not on any terrorist watch list. At 9:47, his mind made up, Hassan boarded a double-decker bus in Tavistock Square and detonated his IED. He killed himself and 14 innocent civilians, and he maimed dozens more. The official death toll from the 7/7 attacks was 56, with 784 injured. London went into lockdown. The 24-hour cable news channels began their exhausting coverage. Experts appeared on the news to give their assessment of every possible element of the unfolding tragedy, and conspiracy theories mushroomed whenever there was a gap in knowledge. The mysterious workings of the security sector seemed to add to the sense of paranoia and performance. Counter-terror police units alluded to a shoot-to-kill policy in the event of any future attack, while the terrorists, who the intelligence services somehow missed, were perhaps the first wave of a larger attack. And who were the attackers, really? Homegrown terrorists radicalized because of poverty, reacting to UK interventions overseas? Was Britain, in truth, to blame for the tragedy that befell it? The sense of paranoia and performance deepened with every mention of Israelis. CBS News reported that, apparently, British intelligence warned the Israeli embassy of the impending attack minutes before it occurred. Of course, even conspiracy theorists are prepared to accept that mundane, undifferentiated intelligence briefings probably go to at-risk embassies in major capitals. But how to explain a simulation training exercise in which bombs explode in the London Underground on the very morning of 7/7, including the presence of mysterious counterterrorism agents? During an academic conference in 2007, a well-known academic mentioned this training exercise, telling the large audience with great confidence that the exercise was run by MI5 with assistance from Israeli Mossad agents. A simple search would have revealed a different truth. Morning of July 7, 2005, Visor Consultants was running a scenario-based exercise for the publishing company, Reed Elsevier, to enhance crisis management for 1,000-plus office staff. Outside the window, actual bombs went off. Crisis management is now a routine aspect of life in many large, risk-averse corporations and public bodies. The world of crisis management is populated by various experts with careers in the military, police, and sometimes even the intelligence community. Security is now stitched into the infrastructure of the contemporary, making conspiracy, the search for explanation to stabilize existing worldviews, a matter for academics and the general public too. Paranoia within reason for everyone. The art of interpretation. As variously established commentators struggled to react to the events of July 2005, the actual terrorists had already crafted their explanation. One of the attackers, Mohammed Sadiq Khan, left a videotape that opens with him denouncing spin and insisting that he will address his audience in such a way as to avoid any confusion. I, and thousands like me, are forsaking everything for what we believe. Our drive and motivation doesn't come from tangible commodities that this world has to offer. Our religion is Islam, obedience to the one true God, and following the footsteps of the final prophet messenger. Your democratically elected governments continuously perpetuate atrocities against my people all over the world, and your support of them makes you directly responsible, just as I am directly responsible for protecting and avenging my Muslim brothers and sisters. Until we feel security, you will be our targets, and until you stop the bombing, gassing, imprisonment, and torture of my people, we will not stop this fight. We are at war, and I am a soldier. Now you, too, will taste the reality of the situation. BBC 2005. Mohammed Sadiq Khan could not have been clearer about his motivations. He was at war with the world protected by security agents, indeed with the modern world in toto. He attacked ordinary politics twice, once by murdering people, and then by telling the world why he did it. One is tempted to think of contemporary terrorism as propaganda by violent expression, occasioning struggles over interpretation. Right-wing terrorists share this obsession with clarity of expression. Anders Breivik left an enormous 1,500-word manifesto for the dark web dwellers, and in New Zealand it is a crime to possess a copy of Christchurch terrorist Brenton Tarrant's reference-heavy manifesto. Terrorism, it is clear, both assaults politics and occasions political expression. For now, it suffices to note that academics, like governments, the media, and terrorists themselves, insist on their version of events. Chapter 5 argued that danger cannot finally be anticipated. This Chapter 6 has argued that the past is unlikely to be well known, and certainly not agreed upon, making learning and deciding what to do difficult. But if danger cannot be anticipated or even understood from experience, perhaps danger can be prevented or precluded. Perhaps we can build a castle so robust that our ignorance, the scope of which we cannot know, is irrelevant.